Hello and welcome to the Story Engine podcast. Today on the show, we have Mycal Anders. Mycal is a fitness coach, but what he facilitates is a total transformation of leaders and high achievers and executives using the tool of fitness to address everything else in your life. Today, we're going to be talking about his philosophy and his approach with that and creating a story that demonstrates that transformation. So, without any further ado, let's hand it over to Mycal Anders. Mycal Anders, welcome to the Story Engine podcast.
Thanks for having me, brother. I'm excited.
I am excited to explore some of the field of both fitness and personal development and really like achieving the life that you want. And you're a great leader in that today. But let's get you introduced to our audience first. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you're showing up in the world today?
Absolutely. My name is Mycal Anders. I'm a father of two. My wife and I have been married for 10 years. I'm the founder of Next Level Performance Consulting. We leverage physical fitness as the gateway to leadership and character development.
Tell us a little bit about who you work with and what does it mean for fitness being the gateway to character development for you?
Sure. So we work with business leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs who are lacking their words in the departments of health, wealth, relationships, and time. And one of the most tangible experiences one can have is the improvement of their health. So in the world of neurolinguistic programming, they talk about four states of being: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Your physical vessel creates emotional regulation, which facilitates mental clarity and allows you to show up as your highest and best spiritual self. And so that's where we come in terms of creating alignment in their lifestyle integration so that they have room for themselves to serve the world in their highest capacity.
hmm So if they don't have room for themselves to serve the world in the highest capacity, or, it seems like if fitness is the way to personal development, like what's happening in their worlds? What's the unpersonal development that's occurring, or what are they experiencing?
If we're giving them the benefit of the doubt in the best case of a bad scenario, they are service forward to their own detriment. They are spending the
Mm,
majority of their existence in servitude of others at their own expense. So, they've solved the money game. They've created financial and economical abundance for their families. They have all the niceties that come with that stuff, and at the same time, they're lacking fulfillment in one way or another. They're not living into their fullest expression, even if they are. They've afforded themselves the opportunity to be fully present for those that they lead and love. And one that's very common is they're at home and thinking about work, and they're at work and thinking about home and where they're coming up short in both those departments. So now they're trying to be everywhere all at once, and they're nowhere ever.
hmm
Hmm.
I like that. Always somewhere else thinking about where they're coming up short.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so when somebody's like in this world, what are they believing that you believe differently, or what kind of perspectives do you work to change from somebody starting in a position like this to start to see
Hmm.
taking more time for myself when it seems like I don't have any as the pathway?
I absolutely love that question. And the where people experience, if we're talking about helping them reframe a perspective and why and how we come at it differently, we love this word balance, right? This work-life balance. There's some magical equation out there that if we solve it, everything will be working perfectly in every department of our existence. And what we're really after, and here's the different, is shifting the frame from that of balance to one of harmony, in which that imbalance is intentional and giving ourselves the grace and curating our environments and our circles of influence so that we're able to be present from moment to moment in every aspect of our lives affords us the opportunity to leave work at work, be present at home, and at the same time create space for ourselves so that we're able to fill our cup and create more bandwidth and capacity to pour into others with it.
So I'm curious, before we got on the call, we were talking about a little bit, you have a tool set of
Mm-hmm.
fitness and fitness training
Mm-hmm.
that delivers something much greater than just fitness in and of
Mm-hmm.
itself. You use it as a tool and a process to help people understand their own truth.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think if you were to tell me like the key benefits of what it's like to once you've gone through your process and
Mm-hmm.
leveraged your process, what are the benefits and what are the life that they can look forward to or be excited for?
Absolutely. So it comes in three phases. The alignment assessment creates the awareness that allows you to live into alignment. And the benefit of that is we strip away all the stories, that narrative that is working against you, or even in some cases has served you up to this point and no longer does. As well as there's only two ways that Mycal, gets to experience Kyle. That in your what we call your usual behavior when all of your needs and expectations are being met, and Kyle and his stress behavior when they're not.
Mm,
And those needs and expectations that tip the scale one way or the other, only you know. And in a lot of cases, are at the wheel at a subconscious level, which handicaps your ability to communicate them effectively. So, by virtue of creating this new level of awareness, these are all the things in my universe that I need to be the highest and best version of Mycal. I'm now able to communicate them more effectively and explicitly so that and we use language like curating your environment and circles of influence so that that becomes the scaffolding, the support of your highest and best self. And it makes the for example, we had a client who had a vice with sugar that they were trying to overcome, and as a result of these are things that are seemingly unrelated. I've got this physical vice, like I've got this sweet tooth that is compromising my ability to get in the best shape possible. But the dot that we connected was he defaulted to taking in sugar or sweets when he found himself in a place of indecision. Okay. So what we're able to unpack there is these moments where our gut or our heart tells us to do something, in his case, make a decision, decide and act, and his brain comes over the top and sabotages all of it. Says, never mind, go satisfy the sugar craving. And what is really interesting, he's now able to sit in bakeries and ice cream parlors and things of that nature and be present for whatever that experience is without succumbing to what used to be his vices, because he's tightened his decision loop and he now trusts himself that much more.
So I love this as the pointing to this tiny vice that doesn't seem to have any other connections. And then we point it to a big major thing when experiencing indecision. We go to this. And what I'm hearing underneath this, um, tell me if I'm close to something, but
Mm-hmm.
like fitness or your
Mm-hmm.
personal health is an excellent measure of integrity, because we're probably have the hardest to keep promises like this to ourselves, and it's the easiest to make these things. And
Mm-hmm.
through the process of working on our integrity and examining these things, we can see bigger, broader issues that are at play that manifest as a sugar craving, but there's a really big thing underneath this that's running his life and his business.
Hmm.
And through playing with the game of, I think, curating and looking at your environment. And I
Hmm.
feel like there's a lot to this. You've said this twice, and I can imagine how somebody just getting rid of the sugar in their house. But I think there's probably a lot more to curating an environment that you go really deeply into that
Hmm.
allows us to be in the right energetic state. But so it's fitness is the easiest and the hardest way to like keep promises with yourself.
Hmm.
Um, and that's kind of why it's an interesting tool set.
Yeah, it is the most readily available opportunity that we have in Western society to create intentional adversity. It's
Hmm.
a reference point with which we're able to create a positive narrative in a controlled environment in which we are proving ourselves to ourselves. The discipline, the consistency, the intensity, all of those buzzwords that we like to use reinforce a a self-image so that when life really hits the fan, we can draw upon those experiences with a story such as, if I'm able to do that, I can overcome this. And what you find is that people that are not actively engaged in that story, in that process, tend to fall victim to their circumstance. And as a
Hmm.
result of this alignment assessment, once you open that box, you can't unsee it. And from this moment forward, you are no longer you cannot, using your word, you cannot be in integrity and convince yourself that you're a victim of your circumstances. And you have to admit to yourself that from this moment forward, I'm the result of my choices. And that's our integrity being our first core value, courage being the second, and ownership being the third. You have now reclaimed ownership of your path.
Can you repeat? So, what was the first one?
Integrity.
Okay. Yes.
You talked about keeping promises to yourself.
Hmm.
Yes.
Integrity,
Hmm.
courage, ownership.
Hmm.
So, what's at stake here? This isn't just about looking better or feeling better or squatting better.
Hmm.
What really down the line is at stake here in our business, in our families, in our lives? Like it's not about fitness. What is it about?
It's about living life at your fullest expression. It's about being fulfilled in every aspect of your existence. It's it's creating an opportunity for you to, uh, perfect example, when you're able to answer the question of alignment, you no longer confuse being content with being complacent. There are people that are in a state of contentment and convince themselves otherwise, and they're constantly moving the goalposts for the sake of moving the goalposts. And while there's nothing wrong with being driven and goal oriented, etc., when you don't own those goals and you're keeping up with the Joneses, or you're looking out at the masses and trying to keep up with your neighbor or whatever, eventually those things will run out of gas and you'll be left at that proverbial mountaintop wondering what the hell it was all for.
Hmm.
So what's at stake is you,
You, probably your family,
your family, your
the
ability,
business itself.
your
You
ability to
can't.
be present,
Yeah.
being um
But what's at stake? My ability to be present isn't necessarily,
mhm,
it's like, I can remember, and I still have this, and I think this is a lot of us have this in our
mhm,
own ways, but I can remember from a very young age waking up and being terrified to wake up in my 40s and like see a life that I kind of compromised and didn't really want to live because it
mhm,
was necessary. And I think there's like most of the people who are doing these things have some kind of sense like that.
mhm,
It's a kind of mortality almost.
absolutely.
Like if I can do enough, then it will be worth it.
Right. Mhm.
Um, which, so yeah, kind of that brings it back to yourself and your life.
Yeah.
Okay. And then let's explore like Oh, and I also think this is interesting about creating intentional adversity.
Hmm.
And um, I've reflected on this a lot with like cold plunges, or
Yep.
particularly waking up in the morning and taking a cold shower. And I think there are physiological benefits to taking a cold shower, but I
Hmm.
think the greatest benefit is waking up and my mind is like, I really don't want to do this. And we're like, I'm going to do this. Because I think the things that we were just describing are
Hmm.
symptoms of being adverse to adversity,
Hmm.
which we want to try and keep ourselves as comfortable as possible. And this ends up not having immediate noticeable things, but over
Hmm.
the course of years, there's a sediment that builds up that can take a really big toll.
Oh, I completely agree. It's really important that over the course of our lives, we're creating a bit of a callus, you know. We are treating ourselves as steel, right? The more you pound on it, the more resilient it becomes.
Hmm.
Uh, and it is the human body is more anti-fragile than we give it credit for, in which it requires stress to improve. And we've created this in previous generations, the heart, you didn't have to go looking for adversity because it was just part of your existence. Life was harder way back when. And now we're in such uh, a place of convenience as a society. If it's not presented to you via a lot of rites of passage that come with sports and being held accountable to a higher level of performance and things of that nature. They're not necessarily limited to physical activity by any means. This is intellectual and other opportunities to prove yourself to yourself. The more and more by the wayside those opportunities go, the more fragile we become. So it's really important as part of our daily practice in one shape, whether it's reading 20 pages or working out or doing that cold plunge or having something as simple as a challenging conversation with somebody who at a philosophical level you vehemently disagree with, and you're just genuinely interested in understanding their perspective no matter how much it conflicts with yours. Like, those are all ways that we become more resilient as human beings, and it's so much easier to adopt these practices when you're standing in alignment, because so much of our apprehension to entertain them is because we're not confident in our ability to stay centered. The fear of being compromised in some way, shape, or form, whether that's physical harm or having to being presented with so much disconfirming information that we're forced to shift our perspective. Those are all fears that people walk around with in the back of their mind, and it's why we tend to be um, reluctant to entertain these practices.
Great. I would love to hear about a time in your life where you were living in the stressed behavior. You were experiencing the lens that is so hard to see out of. You were at home thinking about work and at work thinking about home, and maybe avoiding adversity in your own way. You had your own version of the sugar craving.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, you've solved the problems, created abundance, but it's still not enough. When, as specifically in time and place as
Mhm.
possible, were you feeling just like this?
In 2016, my wife is pregnant with, like, ready to pop with our firstborn. She's in the kitchen making dinner, and I come home from work. I come home from the gym, and we made an agreement early on in our relationship that if something was obviously wrong and we asked each other about it, if you say nothing, if you dismiss that invitation to get it out there, we would not tolerate that behavior in each other and or if we just decide to keep it moving, that is also an agreement that we're willing to make. And my wife, being the intuitive human being that she is, asked, I was on edge, being very dismissive. And she asked me one more time, what's wrong? To which I said very shortly, nothing. And she turns off the stove, crosses her arms, and leans back against the countertop. And she says, what is going on? There, nothing else moves forward until we get this going. And I went on to describe this laundry list of shit that wasn't going right in the business and expressed to her the guilt I felt around her being pregnant and me being the obligations I had to the business we were building. And it was really messing up my ability to get shit done at work and be present at home. And I'll never get, she said, Mycal, I've got this. I'm okay. I know what I signed up for as your wife. Go handle that so that you can be here. And by virtue of just simply communicating this narrative that I had in my mind that was so far from reality, the weight was taken off my shoulders. And that next year, we were rated the number one CrossFit gym in America. And I was fully present for my family along the way. But it's these uncommunicated expectations that we create in our mind that we don't communicate that create our own internal discourse that manifest in the friction that we experience in our physical reality.
Okay. So, what was your sugar craving though? Tell me about something that was happening in the business that would get you going home the way that you were in this story.
I wasn't standing up as a leader. There were things that were just good enough,
Hmm.
but I knew could be done at a higher standard. And I was fearful that if I pushed too hard, I would lose my team. And I would go home not having handled that and stir on it for hours. And then I'd go back the next day knowing that I wasn't present at home. And I'd be mad about that. And it just became this negative spiral.
What
And I
did you
was,
do? What was the dysfunctional thing that you did with your team as a result of this? Were you micromanaging them or doing more of their work or not
I,
delegating or what did it look like?
yeah, I wasn't managing at all.
I hate managing.
I was avoiding managing and had conflated the vision I had for the gym as the if that was big enough, they would get it and they would rise to the occasion. And that there was a missing, there was a disconnect there. And it took me that conversation with Nicole to empower myself. Like if seeing it for what it is. If I don't, the consequence of not handling that was really messing with the thing that was most important to me. So by virtue of, I want this to be better, but the work isn't done over here. The work actually needs to be done over here at the gym. And I put a line in the sand and said, because I had a bunch of part-time people, it's like from this moment forward, we're not hiring any more part-time fitness professionals. They'll all be full-time. You'll be on board with moving next level forward. And this is how you're going to make your living. You all can stay. This is the caveat. This was really interesting. You all can stay, but just know everybody coming in moving forward will be full-time. And
Hmm.
that cast of characters dissolved itself.
Okay.
And what's really interesting about and why I say that I didn't have to fire anybody. They left. And what I'm getting at, the through line here is when you step anywhere close to alignment, even if you don't nail it yet, it won't take any effort on your part for the ship to right itself.
Hmm.
But that's work on self. That's not going from nonchalant casual observer to micromanager.
Hmm.
That's this is where we are going, and this is how we are going to get there. You're either on board or you're not. But this is my company, my livelihood, my vision. Anything not that is not right for us.
Hmm. One more question
Hmm.
in this thread. So for many people, fitness is going to be the missing piece or the missing tool set, or at least the access point to
Hmm.
this. You were
Yeah.
running a CrossFit gym, so
Hmm.
it might not have been fitness to you, but how weren't you taking care of yourself back then? That's just
So
like,
alongside of that, I was the sickest I'd ever been.
okay.
Yeah. The stress of that dynamic that I had created for myself. Uh I was uh my body composition was the highest it had ever been.
Hmm.
Even though by uh conventional standards I wasn't overweight, but I was definitely out of character in my physique for me. And I'll never forget there was a moment uh where I couldn't go support my wife in a competition because I was so ill. And I don't get sick. And the stress of that dynamic had put me in a position where I wasn't physically capable of showing up in my fullest expression.
Hmm. And I would imagine this moment of supporting your wife came before the pregnancy and this conversation, right?
Well, it's a work in progress. So,
Uh-huh.
it's not like we have that conversation and then poof, everything changes,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
right?
I'm just
So,
curious about the timeline
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
things.
So, this we had that conversation right before my son was born. And as she's getting back into peak physique, bouncing back from having baby, this is Tristan was born in April. She was competing again that fall, October. So this is like 6 months later.
That's wild.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
Good
it's
work.
it's time. It's this these are as much as we would love them to be, these are not over this is not an overnight process.
Great. But so now for the sake of the story,
Yeah.
tell me about a, a specific time and place, exactly like that conversation that you
Hmm.
had in the kitchen
Hmm.
with the level of detail. If she turned off the burner, that's the kind of moment I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But you are living resilient. You are living present. You are standing in alignment. You have
Mm.
used the tool set that
Yes.
you embody now
Hmm.
as a way to like when did you know I'm living in alignment?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Just recently, we sunset our training facility, and let's rewind almost a year from today. I remember sitting in the kitchen with my wife and telling her, no matter what, we will not be in our current facility when this lease is up in June. So this is like 8 months of runway. I made that declaration. 2 months later, I was propositioned to take on a role as the COO of an up and coming gym franchise out of Austin. And we were going to open the Phoenix market. That opportunity creates a level of abundance that is a massive upgrade compared to where we were at the time.
Mhm.
And as I entertain that opportunity, mind you, at the forefront of my mind, I've put myself in position, the best position I've ever been in as a husband and a father. Okay. That which is most important to me. As I start to entertain this opportunity, we're looking at properties, etc. However, the McDonald's experience that we associate with franchising didn't yet exist. And I realized that before we open the Phoenix market, we have to get things right in Austin. So I took a trip out there. We had a long conversation, and what they wanted from me was to relocate to Austin. And we love it here in Phoenix. And keeping what is most important in my mind at the forefront of my consciousness, I declined and walked away from that opportunity. And the shitstorm that I came back to, now we have 60 days of runway to find a new property for our existing facility, etc. And at the same time, amidst all of that chaos, making sure that my team had as soft a landing as possible, navigating the research on different properties and lease negotiations, etc. Walking away from that, an older version of Mycal would have beat himself up, made himself sick, stewed over everything that was missed, or worse, taken the opportunity. And amidst all of that chaos, because I was in alignment with that decision and everything that we've built since, I've never slept better. My health and my relationships are the best they've ever been because I had grown to understand what alignment looks like for Mycal.
And thus was born the current version.
Yes.
Okay, great. Good stuff. Are you ready to hear your story?
Yes.
I walk into the kitchen with a heavy heart, and my wife's in there. She looks across and immediately sees it. I feel uncomfortable, don't want her to talk. I don't want her to ask, and she does. She asked me what's wrong. You see, my wife and I have had this agreement for a long time that if there's something obviously wrong with either of us, we can ask, and we won't tolerate sidestepping it. But I'm on the edge. I'm being just trying to ignore it. She asks, what's wrong? And I say nothing. She turns off the stove, dinner not even cooked, crosses her arms, leans on the countertop and asks, what's really going on, Mycal? And I crack. The gates that I've been holding back for weeks and months pour out, and I begin to describe the laundry list of things that are going on in my business and my life, and my guilt, my pure guilt of her being pregnant and me not meeting the expectations that I think I should be meeting to be present with her and present at home and providing a life. You see, I wasn't standing up as a leader. I was managing a successful CrossFit gym, but I hated managing. And I had conflated the vision of where I wanted to go with just doing the little things to manage things and keep things done and keep things on time. But I wasn't trying to guide my team or share my vision. I was just trying to get things done every day. And I was always afraid to push or to lead or to challenge my team, worrying that I might push them away, and would go home, walking home or driving home, thinking about my failures with my team. And I would get home and just be stressed about it. I would go home or go back to work the next day and be stressed about the time I wasn't being present with my family. And this dynamic was not just making my business sick, it was making me sick. I started not liking the way I looked in the mirror. Even as a CrossFit gym, a fitness guy who's supposed to be known for this, I was at my heaviest, I was at my tiredest. And I started to worry if I could really provide the protection and support that I signed up for. I could see looking down how going down this path in my life could cost me my relationship, could cost me my health, could cost me my business. And as I catch my breath, she looks me in the eyes and she says, Mycal, I've got this. I'm okay. I know what I signed up for as your wife, so go handle that so you can be here. And in that moment, I knew something had to change. Something had to be different in this life to bring in my soon-to-be son. I wanted a clear way to step into alignment, a way that could see what was true and what was right for me and never unsee it, so I could start leading with bold vision again instead of just trying to get things done. I started making big changes and approaching my business with big things. I had a vision that we were going to become greater, we were going to grow more, and I started saying that my future team members would all be full-time, afraid that all of my other team members would lead away. But over the time of leading with vision and leading with boldness and actually leading and managing my business the way I wanted to again and coming back into alignment with myself, the wrong people naturally left and the right people naturally came. And this weight had been taken off my shoulders. In a year from that, we became the #1 CrossFit gym, and an opportunity would come to me that would change my life forever. Not too long after becoming one of the best grown gyms, another huge gym franchise reached out to me. They were big in Austin and they wanted me to open up the Phoenix branches. I can remember making a declaration to my family that we were going to be doing something different, that we were going to be more aligned. And I can remember hearing about this the first time and thinking that that might be it. But in order to open up these gym franchises, we needed to go to Austin, Texas for a while to fix up and work on their operations. And I can remember them sending me an invitation to move out to Texas, a good paycheck, an opportunity to be what might be the best position I could be in as a husband and as a father. And I start to think that my son loves where he's living. My wife loves where they're living. We have a family, we have community here, and we have so many things. And I can see this same pattern, this same opportunity that was having me running my business complacent is here again. And I make the best decision out of alignment that I maybe ever have. I say no to the opportunity. I commit to my home, commit to Phoenix, and commit to creating the same program for alignment to allow you to lead yourself, your business, and your life from a place of integrity, courage, and ownership to be able to bring out the best parts of you. Now, I know many of you out there have similar troubles in your business of trying to manage the success that you've created while losing touch with the things that you created it for in the first place. But one thing's for sure, when we can create the tool sets to come back into alignment and start leading from this, there's a world that's better than you could have ever imagined out there. And I'm going to show you today how we're going to create that together.
I'm speechless.
Thank you.
That was beautiful.
It is. Yes. Thank you for sharing that journey with us.
I'm part of your 40% right now.
Maybe it's 41 now.
Oh,
Mycal, before we got on the recording, you were mentioning kind of communicating the real depth of this vision that you have for your people. And I know that this is just one story and just one component. It's just one lift of a series of lifts. But do you feel better equipped now to share that vision with the world?
Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm honored.
Thank you, brother.
So let's wrap this up, close things up. Where can we go to learn more about you? And do you have any closing thoughts for us today?
You can find me. You can find my podcast on Spotify and YouTube. It's called Progress Always. We are reskinning Next Level PFC to line up with the vision that I just shared with you over the course of this conversation. nextlevelpfc.com. And you can also find me at coachdurs.com, on Instagram at coachdurs, and at nextlevel_PHX. Parting words, final thoughts. Alignment isn't very far away, and it's less about what you think it looks like and everything about what it feels like. And when you can trust your gut and your heart and stop allowing your brain to come over the top and sabotage that intuition, you'll know you're that much closer to alignment.
Mycal Anders, thank you so much for joining us today on the Story Engine podcast.
Grateful for you, brother. Thank you.